Hey, everybody, this is Tom Sega from Duluth Pack, and this is the Duluth Pack podcast, Leader of the Pack. And we have two leaders of the pack here today. We have Courtney Laggner and Brooke Kaplan from Darn Tough Vermont. And folks, I'm going to tell you, I'm wearing them right now. I already showed these two ladies them on the screen. It's the only socks that I wear, and they are the best socks in the world. Ladies, welcome.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having us.
Oh, yes. Thanks for having us.
It's great to have you here. And so we're going to jump right in because we are on a limited time here of about an hour, and we have all kinds of great stuff to talk about with Darn Tough Vermont. So Courtney, jump right in and tell us all about your background. Where are you from? Where'd you go to school? And how did you end up doing what you're doing?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I am a purebred Vermonter. I have been here my whole life. So Darn Tough and Cabot Hosiery has always kind of meant something to me. I grew up going to the sock sale, which is a big deal in the state of Vermont and the states surrounding us. People used to travel from states away to come. I went to the tiniest little school. You might laugh, although it might be pretty rural out there as well. I graduated with 47 people, and that was the largest class that ever went through my school. I attended kindergarten through 12th grade in the same building. Once I graduated high school, I wanted to spread my wings. So I left Vermont, went to Massachusetts. I was super excited. And then I said, oh, Vermont's really pretty and I really like it. So I was a business major in Massachusetts. I transferred back to the University of Vermont, where I went into school a little bit undecided, not sure exactly where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, but marketing was on my brain. It was also, I'm going to date myself, social media started when I was in college. 2004 was the year that I graduated high school, and that's when Facebook started. I remember all of my friends like Ithaca and other places, Tufts were getting it, and my school was one of the last ones to get it. But so that kind of started piquing my interest there of, there's a whole new world out there. And so then I decided my major was public communication with a focus in marketing. And I graduated from UVM in 2008. And then I went into, I went into the world of mental health, which is a personal passion of mine, focused specifically on kids 16 to 21 and how to get their attention. So I was their social media marketing manager. From there, I got a little bit burned out and I wanted to flare my creative side. So I went to the Vermont Lottery and helped with ticket design, which was a total like crazy ball game. And actually right before I left there, my first designed scratch ticket came out called Flannel Fours. Still very proud of that one. And then, the position came open at Darn Tough Cabot Hosiery. And I applied being like, oh my gosh, it's darn tough. What's going to happen? And I heard back and they brought me in really quickly and the rest is history.
Well, we'll have a whole bunch of history to talk about too, Courtney. And Brooke, can you do the same? Tell us all about you. Where are you from and how the heck did you get here?
I will. So I'm originally from suburban Philadelphia, so I am not a native Vermonter. However, I did grow up coming to Vermont. I am the second of 5 girls and all girls in my family. Somehow my parents and my dad got the crazy idea and convinced my mom to buy a condo in Killington, 6 hours from home. And he was going to schlep the kids, all 5 of us, up to Vermont as frequently as he could. So still don't know how they did it. And that really shaped me a lot. So I didn't really have a choice. I didn't know many people that skied a lot. And that's really where my love for Vermont kind of was born. And I was a competitive swimmer growing up. That was a contributing factor. I went to undergrad at Syracuse University and I was a member of the varsity swim team there and majored in management. And specifically, my goal at the time was to go into finance. So that's what I did for a couple of years out of college and had a great experience. I worked in cosmetics. I was not a big cosmetics person, but I actually learned a lot of really interesting things about seasonality and trends and actually things that even carry through to what I'm doing today. And I worked for Procter & Gamble. And then as I was there, I recognized that I really missed the world of sports and athletics. So I went to graduate school at UMass Amherst, and they have a really strong sport management program, and got my master's there. My goal at the time was to work in college athletics because I had had a really positive experience. So part of the program, there was an internship requirement, which took me to Boston College. That's what kept me, or really brought me to New England living for the first time. And again, really strong experience. I realized that during that I missed some of the business side. So put two and two together, and then that's where I landed at New Balance. I was there in the footwear industry for 5 years, and it was just really formative. I got into marketing and held several different roles there, from integrated marketing, and in their early days, the first time they launched basketball, I was involved with that, Final Fours and kind of thing. They've come back around to product management. I had an international role there that took me all over the world, and worked with their key accounts. So that was a really incredible experience. And as I said, really formative. And then an opportunity came up. I wasn't necessarily looking with Life is Good, and I became their first marketing hire that they had. Difficult to pass up because I was really able to shape a lot of things. I went from, when I started, they had barely had a website, to full blown. I had a lot of responsibilities. And I actually laughed when Courtney said when she was in college, social media was becoming a thing. The internet was becoming a thing when I was in college. So I was part of my coming of age professionally too, was how do we get this internet thing to go? So that was a big responsibility I had at Life is Good, is the merchandising. They were literally selling off of drawings at the time, and got all their photography up and running, and photo shoots and all of that. So, but I felt this calling to Vermont, and because I was closer, my parents still had the condo at Killington, and was coming up to Vermont as much as I could with my then boyfriend, then fiance, and then eventually husband. And as we were expecting our first daughter, we really felt like, it's time to leave the city of Boston. So we took it took some time to find the right opportunity, but we took a leap of faith, and up we moved. So we've been here since 2010. And for a number of years, I wasn't able to stay in the role I was in with Life is Good, just because of the responsibilities of being right there in the office. But I worked for over 7 years in coffee for Kerry Green Mountain, which was, it was great because it gave me a different industry perspective. And we're here with Darn Tough Vermont, and we work with merino, and it's a natural fiber, and just that idea of where your source is. And so I got to even travel to coffee source, going down to southern Mexico. And then one thing led to another, and this opportunity presented itself with Darn Tough Vermont. And I thought, wow, I gotta see if this can work out. And it was just kind of a dream opportunity for me to come back into the footwear, apparel, accessory space, and do it rooted right in Vermont, and bring all of those elements of my past together. So today I'm the director of global brand marketing, and I've been here since 2018. So it's been fantastic, and I look forward to talking more about it.
Holy moly. You both act like you're so darn old here. Oh, I'm dating myself. How's this? I graduated 4 years of college without ever being on a computer.
Tom, that's glorious.
Glorious. I think by my senior year, we were allowed to use 2 sources from the World Wide Web. It only was 2. And then it was suspect. So then you had to go to the library.
And it wasn't Wikipedia.
Yeah, and that was because you couldn't get the phone line hooked in the computer to get a good signal, right?
All the dial-up. That was all the rage. Yep.
So let's bounce back to Courtney quick. Courtney, what are your responsibility?
Sure.
At Darn Tough Vermont?
Awesome. So I am the brand and community marketing manager. And what that means is we at Darn Tough live by a couple principles, right? We are made in Vermont, still made in Vermont. We are USA based. So everything we do from start to finish happens in Northfield and now Waterbury at another facility. We focus on our comfort, durability, fit, and we guarantee our socks for life. So my job is making sure that all of those brand tenants' stories are told and integrated, are woven, if you will, into all of the stories that our brand is telling and bringing to life, and educating consumers And also a lot of my job is internal, making sure that our family, we're a family-owned business and we call each other family members because we are, making sure that our family is taken care of and that, smiling faces are there every day, every voice is heard, and that our belief system comes out through our quality product at the end. So I manage all of our sponsorships, partnerships from Northfield Little League to national organizations as well.
One of the questions that I had here, and you may have just answered it, it was, what was the most rewarding aspect of your position? And you just said in a couple sentences there, you talked about the internal family quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's easily the most rewarding. Is we own our mill. We are the mill, right? So I've been with Darn Tough since 2016, and our growth since then has been phenomenal. I have worked in every single building that we've had, which I don't think many people at the company can say, because some of them are still at the mill. I was lucky enough to get put into the Nantana facility and then in our Waterbury facility. So I know the names of the people on the floor. I can walk out back and say, Pam, what's going on? Hey, can you pop that machine for me and show me the workings when I'm giving a media tour? And it's humbling, and it makes me excited to come to work every day to know that I have those relationships, and those relationships voices are being carried from the knitting room floor to finishing to the office side of things to senior leadership meetings. It's certainly one of the most rewarding pieces. Another one that I will add to on my plate is inclusion. And what inclusion means at Darn Tough is so much more than race, gender, equality, equity. It's socioeconomic differences. It's food insecurity. So all of those conversations they're really hard conversations, but being at a company that is honest, truthful, and straightforward, which are part of our values, that is really gratifying because there's no BS. We get right to it.
You know what? I love to hear that there's just, let's be honest with each other. We're not here to hurt each other's feelings, but let's be honest with each other, because we can get through a lot of noise and a lot of meetings if we're just honest, with one another, and
Exactly.
And we make that happen. Over here at our company, I've worked out of several buildings as well, but I think the difference between the two of us is I keep getting asked to leave and go to the other building.
Just go, Tom.
Exactly. It's like, hey, that building might need help over there, Tom. Could you please go there? What would you say then, Courtney, are the biggest challenges that you face in your position?
That's a good question. I think, I feel like this is going to be a super cliche answer. But, the challenges are the ever-changing world. There's people's needs are different, and we wish that we could meet them as a brand at all stages. I think this, on a very basic level, it's wonderful that we're growing and we're big, and that we have 3 facilities, but I miss being at the mill. I miss walking the knitting room floor. So I make it a point to go down and work from that office every Friday. That's a challenge. And God, it's like, I wish that I had a magic wand to be able to donate socks to every organization that asks for them and that needs them. I think that that's probably my biggest challenge, is that I don't have a magic wand.
You know what? And that's a good challenge to have, because it's always something you can strive to get
Right.
to. Brooke, will you tell us a little about your responsibility as the Director of Global Brand Marketing?
Absolutely. I think a simple way to think about it is the responsibility. I have the responsibility for how the brand looks and feels and makes people feel on a global basis. So that could be the tangible, and really what it enables them to do, I guess, is probably another way to think about it. So it ranges everything from having involvement way upstream. So we're starting to plan product lines right now. We're already working on fall 23, which we're over a year out. we are our own mill. So that's one of the things that's really cool is when we do have an idea that we want to act fast on, we can, but at the same time, our bread and butter, our core business needs to be planned in advance because we do have several thousand retailers and we have a global distribution network. So we've got to be thinking about what that looks like in advance but it's then following that season all the way through. So we have a whole process where we sell in the line, we have all of our retailers and the creative that's necessary for that, the catalogs, how do they see the line? And then from there, taking that all the way through to what the consumer experience is. So Courtney's, as she explained, is responsible for the branded elements and a lot of the community marketing. And then we have 9 categories. So we market to those categories. We also have different channels. So we have our own website, darntough.com. We've got our brick and mortar retailers, REI thing. And, here in Vermont, we have one called Lenny's, for example, and we've got all kinds of great retail partners that have been some from the very beginning. And then we've got,
can I interrupt you? You have one really good one in northern Minnesota. It's called the Duluth Pack store.
It's the Duluth one that I'm thinking of. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. So that is a great example. And then we have a very strong government business that's actually been with us from the beginning. And we are an essential business through COVID. We were able to stay operational because of that. And it's a really core piece to who we are. We also have an international channel. We sell in nearly 30 countries around the world. And that's something that, we're seeing it really bounce back from the COVID's kind of hit the world in all kinds of different ways. So that's been interesting. And, I would say that's really, kind of the core ways we look at our business today. And then we're continuing to look into the future. So, we do everything. There's creative responsibilities. We have a in-house creative team. So everything from our storytelling copy, we do, photography, things that you visually see in the stories that we tell. We have then communications and PR. That's another area. And I would say some of the things, and Courtney was, she talked about some of the community partnerships. We have a really strong tie to the Vermont Food Bank. And that's something that I give Courtney a lot of props for that. She's really taken the lead on that relationship. That goes to Rick Cabot and his dad, Mark Cabot, who own Tough Vermont. They have a real affinity and really feel this great mutual respect and responsibility for feeding our home community. So we have had a long-standing partnership with the Vermont Food Bank years, actually. And just in late 2021, we hit over 1 million meals donated to the Vermont Food Bank, which is unbelievable. And it's come through a combination of Giving Tuesday days, but then we had with the Bernie Mittens, actually, and generosity, we did a sock a year ago that took the world by storm. We've been able to get some nice net recognition on that. So, the proceeds for these specific initiatives tie back, and we do donate the dollars translate into meals to the Vermont Food Bank. And then we have more programs that we're going to be doing as we look further into the year and ahead to really continue to solidify that relationship. And, we certainly do programs throughout the U.S. and the globe, but at the same time, taking care of our home is really near and dear to our heart.
What is the biggest challenge that you face in your role, Brooke?
I'd say, we're continuing to grow, as Courtney said, and it's been really exciting to be a part of, but it's managing that in a way that is true to who we are at our heart. So there's external expectations for how just even things that our customers like you need, and we've got to develop our capabilities and show up in that kind of way. At the same time, that humility is really important. And so that balance of, we don't want to change who we are, and how do we scale, yet at the same time, stay true to who we are at heart. So I would say that's one of the biggest challenges in working on the brand team. That's always, there's just a tug in a bunch of different directions, and we have an endless stream of ideas. It's figuring out the best ones that make sense for us, both from a brand standpoint and just, we're still a pretty small team. We have we've been growing like mad from a headcount standpoint, but still a lot of those roles are on the operation side because we are we do our own manufacturing. So good 3/4 or so of our employees are directly supporting our operations. So I think it's managing the growth in a way that's healthy and good for the brand.
That's really cool. And for our listeners, this is all done in-house in United States of America. How cool is that? You're not offshoring, you're doing all of this. And that's a lot of moving parts. If you think about, hey, you're a manufacturing company. Well, that's a whole business unto itself. And you're a sales organization. That's a business unto itself. And you're a marketing entity, and that's all into itself. And then you have this website, and that's a whole nother business onto itself. And last time I checked, you probably have a distribution center somewhere where there's a bunch of people who have to make sure the right socks get to the right people at the right time. And so think of this. They do it all in the United States of America, folks, and that is crazy important. And I think everyone needs to support you and what you all do for nothing more than you make the best socks in the world, which I am a testament of, and I own a ton of them, but also support them because this is all done in-house with their employees in the United States. I could go on for days on why we should all support you with that, but we don't have that much time here. Let's now take a little bit of a pivot and tell us about the Cabot family 40 years ago, the hosiery, and then at some point they had to pivot and they did this in a big way.
Yeah. So it's interesting. That was a kind of perfect segue, Tom, of, made in America and being fiercely proud of being made in America. It really does come back to our origin story. So I could talk again for a whole nother day about Mark Cabot and everything that he has taught people about hosiery. He forgets more about socks than I will learn my entire life. He's incredible. And if you ever want to have a 14-hour show about fly fishing, have him on because he'll go the whole time. But
Mark comes in. I mean, he's still in. Mark
Cabot is 82 years old, and he comes to our mill 5 days a week, walks the hall, shakes hands. Now that he can shake hands again, shakes hands, connects with employees. He is, he's out there, as is Rick, our CEO, who's Mark's son, out there walking the floor saying, hey, can we do this? Or, what if we mix these fibers, things like that. But anywho, getting back to our story is our mill, Cabot Hosiery Mills, was built in 1978 in Northfield, Vermont. And we refer to Northfield as the sock capital of the world. From there, things are cranking, things are going well. We've got lots of large organizations, The Limited, J. Crew, Gap, all those guys coming to us to make all of their socks. Things were great up on our hill in Northfield. And then in the early 2000s, things started going offshore. There was lots of cost opportunities. The turnaround time didn't matter for a lot of these folks. And so a couple light bulbs went out, things were getting a little slower. Some of the machines were turned off. And then it got to a real dire point. The Cabots had taken second mortgages out on their home. Things were rough. But there was a group of people, our family at Darn Tough, that the Cabots did not want to turn their back on. They didn't want to leave Northfield. They didn't want to leave our family high and dry. So Mark challenged his son, Rick. What can we do? What's going to make us different and bring us back to the top of the game? So Rick scratched his head and he came up with the idea that's Darn Tough. There was the idea of, hey, Smartwool's already out there. Nobody needs another premium sock. So how can we do it better? And that's when he came up with our unconditional lifetime guarantee. You can put on miles and miles. You can have these socks for 10, 20 years. Send them back. We don't need a receipt. We don't need your packaging. We stitch Darn Tough into the toe for a reason. We know they're ours. Our warranty department is real. I have done that before. I've put my hands on these socks, seen the stories. And so from there, the lights started coming back on. Rick took a backpack to Montpelier, Vermont, which is, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes from our facility in Northfield, put them on the counter. What do you guys think of these socks? No, they're good. Okay. Checked them out. And then from there came the opportunity of the Vermont City Marathon. And Rick said, I want to make socks for every runner that's about to take this marathon on. okay. And he'll probably kill me for saying this, but those socks were not attractive, right? And how I know that they're not attractive is that people that work at our mill still have those socks because they're so durable, right? Our VP of development and design, Lynn Feinstein, has hers from that marathon that she ran in pinned to her board in her office.
And
So
way
these socks-
before she even worked here. It's pretty
way
cool.
before she even worked here.
That's crazy.
Right. And so it also so happened that at Onion River Sports, which became our very first retailer and is still a retailer, was Hal Elms, who is a sales rep, and he's still our sales rep today. So all of this goes back to this belief in this sock, and the durability, the quality. So I could talk about this all day, but from there, we have grown so much. When I started here in 2015, I believe we were around 128 employees, and the number that I saw today was 438. And we now have 3 facilities. Our primary manufacturing is done in Northfield, the sock capital of the world, but we also have a knitting operation as well as our B2C in Waterbury.
You know, that entrepreneurial story about times got tough. We have to take out second mortgages on our homes. We owe these people who've been loyal to us, our employees, so much. If that can't resonate with people, nothing can resonate with people, because that is the entrepreneurial spirit that true entrepreneurs seem like everyone has gone through those tough times at some point. And to see success at the end of that tunnel for the business and also the leaders, and this is called Leader of the Pack, and it's truly about those leaders that saw that vision that we can do this and we can bring on more people, but we have to stick to it and be true to who we are. Hallelujah to darn tough. I love hearing that story. I don't love hearing that they went through tough times, but that's a theme that you'll see with entrepreneurs just about anywhere. And also leaders in almost any industry have gone through tough times and learned from it and didn't just sit back and let things happen. They drove it and made it happen.
Well, and I think that's a really good point. And that's something that our CEO, Rick Cabot, keeps every single employee tied to every day. We live by the mantra, we have yet to produce our best sock. You come in, you work as hard as possible, and you leave thinking, I know I can do better tomorrow. And that keeps us at the top of the game at all times. Another fun fact about just our history and our family is we're currently celebrating Women's History Month. I was putting together a slide celebrating women that have been with the company for over 10 years. There have been several women at this company for over 40 years.
Holy catfish.
Yeah.
It's called loyalty.
Exactly.
But loyalty happens because people are being treated well. People appreciate the company and the leaders of the company.
Exactly.
Yeah, otherwise, that just wouldn't happen.
Correct. And, you know, I think it's rare with growth trajectories, especially the one that we've been in. We're all in it together. So it's an awesome ride.
Brooke, can you tell us about your sales channels at Darn Tough today?
Sure. So as Courtney mentioned, we started with one retailer here in Vermont, and it was really a kind of a slow and steady build from there. And concurrently around the same time, or in the same kind of era, the early stages of the company, we did get involved in government business at the same time. And that's actually, it ties back to us being made in Vermont and really made in USA. We have a number of very compliant socks. And so for those unfamiliar, that means that it needs to be sourced and produced in the US. So we do have, our supply chain is global, but for those specific socks, we also source directly from the USA. So that's been very key, a key piece to our business as we started early on. And over time, eventually we did start to kind of dip our toe in the water for international distribution, and certainly, over the border and north of us in Canada, but then not stop there and really seeing this as an opportunity to draw on our expertise, not only that and then the made in the USA, which resonates. There is in particular some regions around the world where that really carries a lot of weight, and there's a quality association. So we're growing that piece. And then In 2017 is when we launched our direct business on darntough.com. And again, that started really, really small. You could argue, and we talked earlier about the internet coming about, and there was a lot of, this is before I started working at the company, but I know that there were a lot of debates about that. We didn't want to step on any toes of our retailers because they were the ones that built us from the beginning, and they've been loyal to us, and they really, we were who we were because of them. And so what we really wanted to do was make sure that we brought them, the overall pie was growing. And so the benefits, we don't own our own brick and mortar stores. We don't have a Darn Tough store. You can't go to one other than on our website. And so we really see that as our opportunity to tell our brand story. And if you really want to immerse in the brand, that's kind of the one-stop shop where you can find out everything about Darn Tough, and we're sure to have every style. But it has not been an either or. So we do make decisions every single day about, we are still one mill. It's all coming from the same inventory, and it's all coming, passing through the same set of hands. And so making sure that we don't fulfill one area without, at the expense of another. And, with the growth also, we've been really thoughtful about, we're a premium sock, and we know that. So we know the price point is a little bit higher, but at the same time, you're getting that quality, and we have the lifetime guarantee. So that's played into our distribution strategy as well. You could, some brands, the strategy is to open up as many doors as possible. It doesn't really matter where they are and who they are. That's not been the case for us. And we've been in a really controlled growth mindset. And as we've been scaling, I mean, that's, we own our own capacity. We can't just go out and hire a contractor to suddenly, we need another 1 million pairs of socks or whatever. That's just not how it works for us. So we know that there's a finite supply, and we own that quality. We own that. So we want to make sure that we also satisfy our existing retailers, keep them happy before we go on and open new dealers. So it's all connected, and it's been really thoughtful, and we are still, in a controlled way. We will open new dealers if they're the right ones, but again, you got to kind of pass a couple gates essentially, because it's important to us that our brand is represented, and that we do have quality partners with a number of different, that are like-minded and that really understand our values and what we're about. So, I would say that that's a good an overview of the different distribution channels that we have.
It's interesting because I talked to a lot of business owners and business leaders that were in the rep model or the brick and mortar dealer model, but felt forced into, hey, there's this thing called the World Wide Web, and people want to know about us, and so we're going to launch a website, and then we're going to sell there, and then you're skirting that. Oh boy, do our dealers think that we're trying to take business from them? And I can tell you, it's across the board. There's not a manufacturer out there that wanted to take 1 penny of business from their dealers. It's another outlet where if people could not get to a dealer, they could go to the dealer and buy online your socks, or they can go to your website. It's not one or the other, it's all of the above. And so just so people understand that these manufacturers didn't try to go poach business from the hand that's feeding them, that's not the model that any of these businesses were trying to do. And I know for a fact you guys were not doing that.
Yeah, we actually have a dealer locator, like a retailer locator right on our website. And if we don't have the product, we want people to go to their neighborhood retailer. I mean, they'll get that personal service, and they can really touch and feel the product. So exactly what you're saying, we work hard to support our local retailers at the same time as through our website.
And for our listeners, go to Darn Tough's website, find that dealer locator, find that store closest to you, and go check these socks out. I know I'm sounding like a salesman, but that's all I wear. And it's like, that's all I'll ever wear. And by the way, their lifetime guarantee does work, because 2 pair of socks I've brought back. And guess what? I was told, just go grab a pair off the shelf. They'll take care of us. All we ask is that you wash the socks before you bring them back. That would be very nice for the Darn Tough people.
Very appreciated.
Very much so. So can you guys tell us, Courtney, tell us about the brand identity, or the brand 5, I believe it is, brand tenants.
Sure. So I alluded to them earlier a little bit, but made in the USA, first and foremost, right? We own our process from beginning to end here in Vermont, still made in Vermont. And we're really, really focused on our comfort, durability, and fit. That is what we live and breathe by. And of course, our lifetime guarantee. You can't beat it. You put the miles on, we take them back. And you know, you can see, I actually was reading an article today about warranties and why do people want warranty products back? Because it's wildly important to us. We learn so much from wear patterns on socks, and that's how we keep improving our product. You know, if we're seeing 1466 black large come back on the back of a heel, something is wearing out, then our design and development team can really hone in and try and work on the durability of that sock. So that's extremely important to us as well. Was that 5?
It was.
Did I
You
hit
hit them
5?
all.
Okay.
I actually put check marks and you hit them all.
Perfect.
Boy, oh boy, I'll tell you, you must work there, Courtney.
What? You know, wouldn't you believe it?
Brooke, who would be the ideal customer for Darn Tough?
Someone who appreciates quality and that values the ingredients that go into a quality product. You know, I think it's not necessarily, we have such a breadth. I mean, that's one of the things that's so incredible about this brand. There isn't one typical Darn Tough consumer. And while we have, the different categories, and hike is certainly a very large category for us. And that's how a lot of people come into the brand. Courtney mentioned and told the story, the first sock was a run sock. And we have young, old, from all walks of life. We actually get love letters that people send in, true love letters that are fans. It can range too from people who just discovered Darn Tough, and or it could be people who were issued it through the military, and that's how they discovered it, and then they become a convert. It could also be someone, I've had the same pair for 10 years, and I could warranty this, but I won't, because I believe in what you guys are doing, and so here's some photos. And so it's really about the people who believe in it, and we appreciate that belief in us. We don't take that for granted. And we have that warranty. It's the only way we know how to do business. And we own that quality. We own that. And so we need to find a customer base. We want those people to come to the brand that do protect that and value that too. So there isn't one singular answer. It's really more of a mindset and how they use the product. And then the last thing I'll say, we want people who, we have a really durable, comfortable, durable, good fitting product. And so, we do find a lot of people who are out there in the wild, whether they're hiking the Appalachian. It could be someone who's commuting, in the city, and they're riding a subway every day, and they need that durability or that comfort to last them all day. So, I would say it's those people that really value what we bring and what we're about.
With the story you're telling about the socks, and you're in the premium market, and you obviously do not apologize for being in that premium market. But if you look at the value, there's a value statement in everything we purchase. And you're talking about getting love letters from your customers. Well, there's some value in that because, we all wear socks every day, but who really thinks of it that way? Well, when you have something so good, you do think of it differently, like, holy moly, I've had this pair of socks forever and they still fit perfect and work every day. And I've never had that happen. That's a value proposition that people don't hear. And then, you talk about not everyone's going to send their socks in to, if they wear a hole in them or something happens to them, but people get that. And so when you look at it, they get that for free, I guess is the best way to say it, because so many products, we're all consumers, and people go, would you like to buy the extended warranty that'll cost you X amount, up front, or X amount per year to have the extended warranty? Well, that's baked right into your product. So your premium product has that in it. There's no extended warranty to buy.
Right. It comes right with it.
Yeah, really, you're buying for life. I mean, you could get a pair, and with the durability, you could wear the same pair, and with merino, I mean, we have the materials are antimicrobial, they wick moisture. I mean, people literally will take a pair on the Appalachian Trail and hike in one or two pairs for the entire couple thousand miles. And they'll last. And so, but if you need to replace them, yeah, that investment, that $25 investment is really, it pays off.
You know, an interesting story, when we were going to bring it into our brick and mortar store, Darn Tough, and the reps came in and they were selling to us. One of the first stories we heard, and it just popped in my mind as we're speaking here, is about a customer early on in Darn Tough who didn't believe that you would uphold your lifetime guarantee. So he bought a pair of Darn Tough socks and wore them without shoes for, I forget how long this was, and finally wore a hole in them because he didn't wear shoes, brought them back and could not believe, told the story and said, I really can't believe that you're going to give me a new pair. And it happened. And that story is powerful. And I can tell you it was for our whole staff when they were being trained on this brand that at the time they didn't know about. They're going, you've got to be kidding me. They really do that. So kudos to all of you for doing that. That's pretty cool. And I'm very schooled on lifetime warranties and how that all works. So it's pretty powerful tools. Courtney, can you tell us about some of the challenges that Darn Tough faces being an American-made only company?
Some challenges of being made in America only. I may have to pay, I mean, off the top of my head, no challenges specifically. I mean, you know, everybody is dealing with supply chain issues right now. I can't think of one. Brooke might be able to. We're fiercely proud of it.
Yeah. We are facing it, but I will say, you know, it ties back to our heart, even our roots in Vermont, and you know, just Vermont alone. It's a harsh place. It's hard. The climate. I mean, there is no spring, you know, and it's cold here and it's muddy here, and then you know we've got actually a very small population. So as we're growing and we're committed to staying here, we're not even moving out of the USA. Yep. We're staying in Vermont, and so practically speaking, I mean. It's a tight labor market, so we're challenged just like everyone else. You know, and I think that at the end of the day too, we own it. You know, we own what happens. So we can't charge back a factory. We can't, you know, if something goes wrong, that's on us to figure that out and sort that out and make it right with our customers. So, you know, I would say that, you know, but we're proud of that. That's who we are. So we couldn't do it any other way either. So, you know, it's a challenge, but it's actually a challenge we all rise to. And one of the things that our Rick Cabot also says, and he started this and he made a hashtag about it, but we all win. And this idea about when we celebrate successes, it's not just one person's, it's really, truly a team. So if we, you know, get extra product out the door, or we have a really great win with a customer, or we, you know, there's a bunch of hires that come in that we maybe didn't think we were going to get, or a great brand thing happens. Any of these things, it's all the sum is greater than the individual parts. And we really, truly believe that. And that again goes back to we couldn't do that if we were operating in a fractured environment, you know, with people all over the place that weren't really part of us. So, you know, yeah, it's challenging, but it's so rewarding at the same time.
You talk about labor, and that's probably the biggest challenge right now because you're a growth company, right? And how do we hire more people? Number one, you're in a small community. Number two, anyone who has not been living under a rock understands that it's been a challenge these last couple of years to hire people. So you're a growth company, and then there's obviously labor force issues out there. What I can tell you from not only a consumer of your products, but also as a retailer of your product, is that we have not heard from your company a single time that our products are stuck on a ship somewhere or stuck in a port somewhere. If we heard anything, it's like, hey, we're trying to make them as fast as we can, and we'll get to them the second they're done. But they're just coming from Vermont. They're not stuck in a port on a ship somewhere. So Kudos to you guys.
That is absolutely true.
The communication has been well. Let's pivot again now and talk about press, because obviously your company has really gotten on the map for all of us. If you would have asked several years ago, have you ever tried Darn Tough Socks? I think a lot of people would have been like, never even heard of them. I don't think that's so true anymore for mainstream out there in at least the United States. Tell us some of the importance of press coverage of your brand. And we all heard the story of the brand. So it's just a phenomenal story and a family story. But talk about some of the importance of that and how you use that to your benefit to get the story out.
Absolutely. I think, Brooke, this is probably one that we can both answer. What it really comes down to, I believe, Tom, is how honest and transparent we are, and how much we are dedicated to the quality of our product. That is not going anywhere. Our socks are hand inspected before they leave the door from facility to facility. And that's just what we're committed to. We're not going into other markets. We're not making the underwear that people ask us to make. We're not making a base layer. We're making socks. We're committed to making one thing and making that one thing better than anybody else can possibly make it. And so that story kind of writes itself, right? That we are just fiercely loyal to our product. The other thing that I think brings in attention is that we are a real non-BS brand. If we have a hiccup, we own it. We're truthful and transparent, and this all goes back to part of just who our brand is and our brand voice. We have fun with ourselves. We take our socks very seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. And I think that that's what consumers and people reading papers and magazines and listening to podcasts, I think that's what people are looking for. And we have that in a very true story.
How do you get those stories out? Obviously, there's press and there's magazines and there's all of these different media outlets and there's social and all of this thing. What goes into your process of how we get not only our brand, but then our product story out to people? What kind of channels do you use?
Yeah, so we work with an external PR agency, and they are absolutely wonderful. We connect directly with them on brand channel stories, specific product launches, and then those folks will seed it out to editors around the country, around the globe. We also work with Spring PR out of the UK. So essentially keeping them just abreast of where we're at, what our launches are, if we've got any big stories going. And then again, I feel like I'm a revolving door with this, but once people try on our socks, they're not going to go anywhere else. So once we get socks on people's feet, then they say, oh, and you make running socks? That's interesting. I had no idea. And then of course, our social media has become a really popular avenue for us as well. And our social media manager does a great job of using user-generated content to show what people are doing out in the wild and give that aspirational yet attainable feel. And it also lets people know that we're watching. We love to see what you're doing, out in the wild, and we want to share it with the rest of our consumers.
We also tell stories of our own employees, and that's something that has really resonated a lot with our audience. That whoever it is, we have a lot of multi-generational families that work here, a lot of cousins and dads, and me. Even on our team, we have an intern, and his dad and his grandfather also work here. And so whether it's through social media, our emails, sometimes some are more, we have a super creative guy who does a lot of our copy. If you want to be entertained, I would, you can sign up for our emails and you'll be surprised. Not everyone, but suddenly something's going to come through that you wouldn't be expecting. So, whether it's, stuff, there are things that we do directly. And then as Courtney mentioned, we have Fin Partners as our PR agency, who's really been a great partner of ours and has helped us get some more national coverage. That we've got a really loyal fan base and audience, and they keep coming back, but we know there still is a huge world out there of people who haven't heard of us yet. And so that's our opportunity as well. And just trying to get in front of the right people in the right place. And, oh yeah, this brand darn tough. And then we find once people get that little spark and they get intrigued and they've heard of our brand, or maybe they try out or someone gives them a pair, then it creates this effect. And then honestly, one of our best avenues is also just people who are already brand loyalists. I mentioned the love letters we get, but we have people who are out there just singing the praises. I mean, people that are on the trail that tell people, these are the best socks. And, we can only do so much from, we're the marketers and the brand people here, but honestly, I mean, it's keeping that stoke going and giving them opportunities to just share with each other. So that's invaluable, and that's not anything you can even buy. And so it goes back to, as Courtney said, just staying true to who we are. And then as long as we do that and we don't stray from that, then all these other things will follow.
Do you still fight the old adage of people thinking that don't understand merino, and they think wool socks, oh my goodness, these are going to itch? Is that still a stigma out there that you have to educate on?
Oh, it's absolutely still out there. Not only, oh, it's going to itch, but it's hot. I'm here to tell you folks, merino wool is the most magical fiber on the planet. It keeps you warm when you're cool and cool when you're warm, wicks moisture. It is odor resistant. But yeah, that's one of our biggest, I won't say barriers, but it's one of our biggest opportunities is to educate people about merino. Oftentimes we don't even say wool. We just say merino because WOOL can be scary.
Yeah. And merino is really, it is the best of the best, at Courtney's point. And we buy the best, we use the best materials, the softest, the most comfortable. And so it is not your grandma. I had that sweater. That grandma just knitted that thing. And I was like, I had this association. No, thank you. And, so I think for a lot of people who have not been enlightened by what merino actually is, then that's where, as Courtney used the great word, opportunity. And in particular, I mean, some of the categories like, snow socks, I get it. It's a little more of a, closer in idea. Our run socks are the bomb. I mean, they are just, there is just no way to describe them. The most lightweight materials we have, they are just beautiful in any condition, whether you're, in the South and it's blazing hot, or you're here in Vermont and it's freezing, or we also get hot weather, but 2 days a year in Vermont. So for those 2 days, I still wear my darn tough running socks, in any climate. And so it's really that is that once you discover that, you will truly never go back.
I like the way you said that. They're odor resistant. So for a challenge for the future, at least for me, you need to make them odor proof if you can.
I challenge you, Tom, wear a pair of our socks 28, 30 days straight. I swear, this is what Rick Cabot does. He wears socks that long to make sure durable, odor resistant, that everything we have is up to snuff. I challenge you. Write me an email and let me know how your socks are after 28 days. After some of these voyages I go on in the fall and hunting trips in the mountains, and I wear darn tough socks on them. By the end of the trip, they're kind of standing by themselves in the corner of the tent there. Yep.
They still work though. All right, we're going to do our last pivot here. So ladies, we're going to go personal on you here. We want to learn a little bit about you individually. So Courtney, what's your favorite hobby outside of work?
My favorite hobby outside of work. Oh my gosh, I love trying new food. Is that a hobby? I love being very adventurous with that.
Okay, what's your favorite so far?
Oh, well, I don't know why I'm thinking of things that I don't enjoy. Let's think.
Other than maple ice cream at the trade shows, come on. And then what do? You come and eat it in front of me, Mr. Lactose Intolerant.
I know. You know what? I'm gonna take back my entire statement and say my newfound hobby has been sledding with my kids. I have not really spent time sledding until I had kids. And it's so much fun. I'm terrible at it. I don't know how I can be terrible at it, but I am.
How can you be bad at sledding, Courtney? What are you wiping out? Like
I literally halfway down the wipe out. wipe out barrel roll. But that's part of the fun.
I think we need a little like hidden camera. We got to watch Courtney sled. I've never heard someone describe themselves as a bad sledder.
No, it's
Oh,
terrible.
Lord. Okay, we need YouTube videos.
I am bad at it.
That's it.
Brooke, what's your favorite musician or band?
Ooh, this is a tough one, I would say. My wedding song, like this going back many, many years ago, was Waste by Fish. And this was way before I moved. I wouldn't say they're necessarily my favorite band, but that one speaks to me. And I think, I have a lot of heart for like music I heard as a kid growing up, like, that my parents listened to. But if I have to really say it's more an era, I would say the 80s that was my jam. I that was when I was coming of age. So you give me like Cyndi Lauper, or I think Bon Jovi was one of my first tapes. The Bangles, you name it, anyone from the 80s. I'll give it an era, not just my favorite musician.
I just saw a documentary on Bon Jovi, and it was pretty amazing because that guy is one heck of a businessman.
He is.
He took the business part of their music and their travel and their tours way more important. He found it way more important than the actual concerts and his music. And it's a great listen.
Wow.
Let's, for both of you, your biggest fears.
I mean, I feel like I'm saying again about my kids. My kids getting hurt. That's all of a sudden, I don't do well with blood. So my biggest fear is that Leo will turn around and have his teeth busted out or something. That terrifies me.
And I'll say, all true. I have 2 girls, so I have the human nature, motherly instinct. But I think for me, the way I'll answer this is there are so many things I want to do in this life, and I just don't have enough time to do them. And so it's whether it is, a big part of that is with my kids and experiences and things I want to do. And, we're coming into this interesting time. We were, 2 years into COVID. And so on the one hand, I had more time with my kids than I ever imagined I would have. It wasn't exactly how I thought it would be. Trying to homeschool a kindergartner, for example. But so that was really quality time. But I think what I'm really excited about is getting out into the world again. And so, I think that it's this, I guess, tying back the question that you asked around fear, it's especially with the kids that they're going to be grown. I have an 11, almost 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, and the clock is ticking. So, I just want to make sure that we are able to do things as a family, and I can really experience all the cool things that I want to do with them before they're looking at me saying, no, thanks, Mom. Or they won't even be that polite. They'll probably say, see you later.
Well, you know what, though? They always come back and eventually they come back and they go, gosh, Mom and Dad were really smart and they were actually pretty cool.
Yeah, we're still okay. Like our younger one, like we're cool. The older one, we're on the fringe. It depends on the day. So we're only sliding down, and then I think we've got a long road back up when that goes.
Well, there we are sledding again. Okay, one last question for each of you. Courtney, this one's for you. Best vacation destination?
That I've been to or I dream?
Yes.
Both. Best vacation so far, Greece. I loved Greece. It was beautiful. My dream will be to get to Fiji.
Ooh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You will not be able to sled in Fiji. I promise you that.
This is true. But who knows? I will find a way. Maybe I'll do it on sand or something.
And Brooke, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I would say be kind. And I think it's really amazing what impact that can have. And that speaks to being kind to yourself. And life is crazy and busy, and you're never, I just talked about not having enough time, whether it's with your family or at work or anything else that you want to do or for yourself. And so just be kind to yourself and be kind to others. And if you can live by that, if we all just imagine if we could all live by that mantra of just being kind and compassionate. And I think that would go a long way. So yeah, I try my best to live by that, and not always perfectly, but I try to remember that. And I would just say, that'd be my message to anyone listening to is just be kind. There are a lot of hard things in this world.
That is great advice. And that was great advice. Folks, we've been very blessed today. We've had Courtney Laggner and Brooke Kaplan from darn Tough Vermont. We've learned so much about you, but also your history, your business, and darn tough as a whole. Thank you so much. That's been really fun and really informative.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. It's been great.
Thanks again. And folks, until next time, unplug from the indoors and recharge in the outdoors.